Hey guys, how are you doing? I hope that everyone is well. I wanted to start talking with you today about the structure of the verb phrase. So, what we're going to see is that there are different types of verb phrases in English. And this is probably going to be true for all languages, but our examples are going to focus on English. Such that the verb phrase has a different structure. And that's what we'll be talking about. How do we decide what the structure of the verb phrase is? So, before we can determine what is happening inside the verb phrase, let's talk a little bit about the structure of the sentence in general. So, we know that in English, the subject of the sentence comes before the predicate. So, English is what we call an SVO language, which means typically, the subject occurs first, and then you have the verb, and then you have the direct object. So, for example, if you had a sentence like, Mary read the book. Okay, who is that sentence about? That's the subject of the sentence. The topic of the sentence is the subject. So, who are we talking about? We're talking about Mary. Okay, when we talk about what did she do, what is the action that is being described about her? Well, she read the book. So read is counting as the main verb there. And then what is the thing that gets read is the book. It's the direct object. So that's what we mean when we say that English is a subject, verb, object language. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't move the parts of a sentence around and change that, right? Because when we were doing the test with preposing, with movement, we saw that you could say, the book Mary was reading. And the meaning of that would be something like, it was the book that she was reading. You know, she wasn't reading a magazine or she wasn't reading anything else. It was the book. So we have these processes in English that allow us to move things around in the sentence. So when we say that the typical sentence in English is subject, verb, object, what we mean is that in a usual sentence, in a sentence that doesn't have any particular special meaning. So if you have a sentence like, the boy kicked the ball, now we have the boy as the subject of the sentence. He's who the sentence is about. He's the topic of the sentence. And then we have kicked the ball. Kicked is describing the action. You know that that's the main verb of the sentence. And then we have the ball, which is receiving the action of the verb. Therefore, it's the direct object. So you have subject first, verb, and then direct object. However, you could have moved things around. You could have done a test to see if the ball is a phrase. If you did that test of movement, the ball John hit. Okay, so that is showing you that the ball is functioning as a phrase in that sentence. And notice that in that sentence, it's occurring before the subject. So when we say that English is SVO, what we're really meaning is that in a typical sentence in which things haven't moved around, an ordinary sentence that has basically no emphasis on any particular part of the sentence. So every single sentence in English will be able to be divided up into those two items: the subject of the sentence and the predicate of the sentence. The predicate is always a verb phrase. The subject is always a noun phrase. And I just want to mention here that at this point, we're going to be going into a lot of terminology: monotransitive, ditransitive, complex transitive, intransitive. And when you read the chapter, you might feel overwhelmed because it's just a lot of new words that are used to describe the structures that we're talking about. So don't worry, we're going to go through many examples of each of these. And this is the best way to really understand and approach the material. Whenever you're looking at an idea in linguistics, give an example of it. As soon as you have an example sentence, that shows you how things are really working.